The first time Michael brought it up, it wasn't dramatic. There was no shocking confession or heated argument. It happened on a quiet Sunday evening when the house smelled faintly of laundry detergent and the soft hum of the dishwasher filled the kitchen. We were sitting at the dining table, sipping tea, the kind of moment married couples often take for granted after years together. "Can I ask you something without you getting upset?" he said. I looked up from my mug and smiled. "You usually ask things like that right before asking something upsetting." He chuckled nervously, rubbing the back of his neck. "Fair point. But I'm serious. I just want an honest conversation." We had been married for 11 years at that point. 11 years of shared routines, shared losses, shared laughter, and shared silence. We knew each other well enough to sense when something mattered. "Okay," I said. "Go ahead." Michael took a breath. "Have you ever thought about how much we've changed since we first met?" The question caught me off guard, but not in a bad way. I leaned back in my chair. "Of course we've changed. We're not 25 anymore." "That's not what I mean," he said quickly. "I mean how we've grown. How we communicate better now. How we trust each other more." I nodded slowly. "I agree." He hesitated, then said, "I've been thinking a lot about honesty. About how sometimes couples don't talk about their curiosities because they're afraid." I felt my chest tighten just a little. Not fear exactly, but alertness. "And," I asked, "and I wonder what would happen if we explored some of those conversations instead of shutting them down." I studied his face. He wasn't smiling now. He wasn't joking. He looked thoughtful, almost vulnerable. "What kind of conversations?" I asked. He paused again. "About boundaries. About trust. About experiences." The room felt quieter. I set my mug down. "Michael," I said carefully, "you can say what you mean." He exhaled. "I've been curious about the idea of shared experiences. Not because I'm unhappy. Not because I want something else. But because I want to understand us better." I didn't respond immediately. My mind raced through assumptions, fears, cultural expectations, and the kind of stories you hear whispered but never openly discussed. "You're talking about swinging," I said finally, my voice steady but cautious. He nodded. "Talking about it. Not jumping into anything. Just talking." The silence stretched between us. My first instinct was defensiveness. The second was confusion. The third, surprisingly, was curiosity, not about the idea itself, but about why he trusted me enough to bring it up. "Why now?" I asked. He smiled softly. "Because I trust you more now than I ever have." That night, we didn't make decisions. We didn't set rules. We didn't agree or disagree. We talked. For hours. About fears. About jealousy. About how society teaches us to equate curiosity with dissatisfaction. Michael was clear about one thing. "If this ever makes you uncomfortable, we stop." Immediately. That mattered more than the topic itself. Over the next few weeks, we kept talking. Sometimes cautiously. Sometimes awkwardly. Sometimes honestly enough that it surprised both of us. We discussed boundaries, expectations, and the emotional weight of trust. What shocked me most wasn't the subject. It was how open we were with each other in those conversations. There was no pressure. No manipulation. No ultimatums. Eventually, I realized something important. The strength of our marriage wasn't being tested by the conversation. It was being revealed. When we finally decided to attend a social gathering designed for couples like us, it wasn't about thrill seeking. It was about understanding ourselves and each other better. We agreed that nothing would happen unless both of us felt completely comfortable. No exceptions. The night of the event, I remember standing in front of the mirror, adjusting my dress, feeling a mix of nerves and calm. Michael walked up behind me and placed his hands on my shoulders. "We can leave anytime," he said. I met his eyes in the mirror. I know. The gathering itself was nothing like the dramatic images people imagine. It was quiet, respectful, and surprisingly ordinary. Couples talked, laughed, shared stories about work, travel, and life. There was no pressure, no expectations. What stood out to me most was how often Michael checked in with me. A hand squeeze, a look, a whispered question asking if I was okay. And I was. Not because I suddenly became someone else, but because I felt seen. We didn't cross any boundaries that night. We didn't need to. The experience itself, being open, being honest, being united, was enough. On the drive home, the city lights blurred past the windshield. "How do you feel?" Michael asked. I thought for a moment. "Closer to you," I said truthfully. He smiled. "Me too." Over the following months, we continued to talk. Sometimes about curiosity. Sometimes about limits. Sometimes about how that single experience changed nothing and everything at the same time. We learned that trust isn't about avoiding difficult topics. It's about facing them together. Our marriage didn't strengthen because of what we did or didn't do. It strengthened because we chose communication over assumptions, respect over fear, and partnership over secrecy. People often assume that unconventional conversations weaken relationships. Our experience taught us the opposite. What weakens a marriage is silence. What strengthens it is honesty, even when that honesty feels uncomfortable at first. Years later, when friends ask us the secret to our strong marriage, we don't talk about that night or that conversation. We talk about listening, about checking in, about never making the other person feel trapped or unheard. Michael's unusual request didn't change who we were. It reminded us of who we had always been, a team. And that made all the difference.